What is up, guys? My name is Lex. We are here at the Hard Rock playing 510, buying in for $2,500. This is our bread and butter. We play this almost every single day of the week, so we are ready to play. But first, I want to tell you guys a little bit about the month I'm having in July. July is rough so far. I'm down about $4,000 after about 122 hours of play. I know $4,000 is really nothing for this game. It's not even 2 buy-ins, but it is still very frustrating to go in every single day and either break even or slightly lose after a full month of play. However, I feel really good about how I'm playing. I'm not punting my stack. I'm not getting way out of line. And as long as I keep playing like this, the cards should turn around. So with that being said, let's get right into the first hand here. A raise to 30 with 2 calls, all this dead money in the pot. I'm going to squeeze it here to $200 with king, queen of diamonds in the small blind. If I get called, my hand will play very well post flop. I also block some strong hands like kings, queens, ace king, and ace queen. All my opponents end up folding, so I end up taking down about $100 profit here, which is good enough for me. We're going to book the win, head to the cage, and cash out. Just kidding, guys. We are back at the table. It folds all the way to me, and now I look down at king, queen offsuit this time on the button. I decide to raise it up to $35 here before the small blind puts in a 3-bet to $105. I ask to see his stack, and he says, I got about $2,000 behind, so I contemplate 4-betting but decide to just make the call. So I make the call for $105 going here, heads up to the flop, which doesn't really help us at all. 5-7-8 with 2 hearts. My opponent decides to put out a c-bet here. He makes it $75. And this board should hit my range a lot more than it should hit his. I can have a lot more sets, 2 pairs, and straights on this board. And he's going to have a lot of over cards, over pairs, and ace high hands. So I decide to float here. I know I don't have anything at all, but I have a plan to bluff the turn, depending on what it is. The 4th card is the ace of clubs, definitely not a good card for me. Now he's going to have a lot more top pairs in his range than I will, so whenever he checks it over to me, I think I could potentially start to bluff here, but I decide to just play it passive and give up. Sometimes you're going to have a plan, and sometimes it changes depending on the board. The river's another 7 pairs the board now. The flush draw misses, he checks it over to me, and now I think I could potentially put in a bluff, but I think he's just going to call me with all of his 1-pair hands. So I give up, and he shows king 5 of spades, so he ended up 3-betting us light out of the small blind, hit a pair, and takes down this pot. Moving along to the next hand, and I mean the very next hand, I look down at pocket kiggities in the cutoff. Yes, I brought back the kiggities. The hijack raises to 30, and I make it $100. He makes the call, heads up here to the flop of 5-7-9 all hearts. My opponent checks it over to me. I decide to put out a pretty large c-bet here. I make it $125, and he snap folds. So we take down this pot here with the kiggities, King Kong, Khloe Kardashian, the Cobra. Wait, no. Cobra starts with a C. You know what I'm talking about. We end up winning this pot. Next up, we have pocket 9s in the big blind. There's a raise from an older, tighter reg who I don't play with very often, but I know he rarely gets out of line. So we end up going 3 ways to the flop of 3-3 deuce. We flop an overpair here. I check it over to him, and he puts out a $55 bet. The small blind decides to let his hand go, and I don't think raising would be good here. I don't think he's going to be calling me with many worse hands. So I make the call. Folding would just be way too tight. Going to the turn, which is the 6 of spades. Now brings in a flush draw and brings in the open-ended straight draw, which would be 4-5 on the flop. If he continues to bet here, I'm going to give him credit for a hand like 10s, jacks, queens, and kings, and aces. So whenever he checks it back, I feel pretty good about my hand. Going to the river, which is the 8 of spades. So we still have an overpair here. I contemplate leading out, but I don't think he's going to call me with any of his air hands or ace high. So I decide to check it over to him. He looks back at his cards now and decides after about 20 or 30 seconds to put out a bet. He makes it $140. Like I said before, this guy does not really get out of line too often. This would be a really weird bluff line by him to check back the turn and now bet on the river. We're losing to a flush, and we're also losing to some of his overpairs that he decided to pot control on the turn. I think for a while now, there's not many hands I'm beating, but I'm still beating an 8. I'm beating pocket 7s and pocket 6s. So I decide after a little bit of time to put in the call. He shows us the one hand we do beat, ace 8, so he has top pair, top kicker. We show pocket 9s for the overpair, and we end up scooping this pot down. Moving right along here, there's a raise and a call before I look down at pocket aces on the button. What a beautiful sight. The best hand ever created pre-flop. I put in a 3-bet to $125. The initial raiser folds, but the cutoff player ends up making the call. Going here to the flop, which comes out Queen 9-5 Rainbow. The cutoff checks it over to me. I decide to get a little tricky here, and I check this one back. My thoughts for checking back this flop is to put in a little deception, put in the trap, and also I think my opponent's going to have a lot of one pair hands, pocket pairs that he calls with pre-flop, and I think I can only get 2 streets of value with those hands. So the turn is a 7, he checks it over to me again. I'm going to put out a bet now, I make it $150. The action's back on him and he pretty quickly makes the call. I still put him on a one pair hand like 10s, 8s, or 6s. Going here to the river, which is a total brick, a 3 of spades. So if we were ahead on the turn, we are still ahead now on the river. Whenever he checks it over to me, I go into the tank. I Hollywood a little bit here. I know I'm going to bet, but I want him to think that I'm contemplating if I should bet or check back and whether I should turn my hand into a bluff or not. So given this line, I decide to go pretty big here on the river, try to polarize my sizing and get a hero call by one of his pocket pairs. I bet $325. I want you guys to pause the video now, go down to the comments and let me know what you think about this hand. If you were to check back the flop, what kind of bet sizing would you do on the turn? And if he called the turn, what bet sizing would you do on the river? We know he has a pretty weak hand, probably a one pair hand, so should I bet small, trying to squeak out some value, or should I bet big and try to polarize my range, make it look like a bluff? I want to hear what you guys think. My opponent thinks for now almost a minute and decides to give his cards back to the dealer. He ends up folding, so we take down this pot here with pocket aces. This table has been playing pretty passive so far, not too much action, so it folds to me on the button. I have ace queen of clubs, I raise it to $30. Small blind folds before the big blind puts in a 3-bet to $100. I don't really want to 4-bet here, so I just make the call. Going to the flop, which we flop top pair, top kicker on queen 7-5, 2 hearts. The big blind looks back at his hand and decides to put out a c-bet here. He makes it $80, and like I said before, the table has been playing pretty passive, not many 3-bets, not many big huge bluffs, so I'm not really liking this spot. However, top pair, top kicker, button versus big blind, definitely not going to be folding on the flop, so I make the call for $80. Going to the turn, which is the 6 of clubs. Now the big blind decides to check it over to me, and I don't expect him to be doing this a lot of the time with kings and aces, but he could be pot controlling here given the fact that the board is not that great for his hand. He can also have a hand like ace-king where he only has 3 outs because I hold an ace in my hand. He could have 10s or jacks, which he is basically drawing dead to anyway, so I decide to pot control here and check this one back. For some reason, I just had a bad feeling about this hand. I kind of felt like he was trapping me for some reason. So I check back, going to the river, which is one of the worst cards in the deck. Actually, I think it is the worst card in the deck. It's the king of diamonds. And now he decides to lead out for $150. This is just such an annoying spot. This is exactly how he would play ace-king. He would 3-bet pre-flop, c-bet the flop, check the turn, and then now lead out pretty small with top pair, top kicker. I go into the tank for a while trying to think of any bluffs he could have. Possibly a hand like ace-jack offsuit, maybe ace-10 offsuit or some wheel aces like ace-5 or ace-4 suited, but I don't think he's 3-betting those in the big blind very often, so I just think he has value here a lot of the time. I end up tanking for a while and try to make the tough, disciplined laydown. I ask him to see his hand for the vlog, and he tells me he has pocket 7s. So it sounds like he was trying to trap us there on the turn, and we got the best river possible. The king really saved us some money. If the king didn't come out and he bets out $200, I just snap call. So it turns out we got a little bit of run good here. Last hand of the session and the vlog here, we look down at 8, 9 of hearts under the gun. I make it $35 and only the big blind calls. Going here, heads up to the flop of ace, 8, 5 with 1 heart. We flop middle pair here with a backdoor straight and flush draw. I put out a small $30 bet for protection and also some thin value, and he ends up pretty quickly making the call. Going to the turn, which gives us 2 pair. It's an offsuit 9, so now we're beating all aces. He checks it over to me again, and I ramp up this sizing. I make it $125 now, really targeting all of his hands like ace-queen, ace-jack, and ace-10. The big blind thinks for a little bit of time and decides to call $125, so we're looking for a brick river here to try to get a big value bet with our 2 pair. However, it does not come a brick. It's another 5, so we get counterfeited. He checks it, and I check this one back. He shows ace-queen, so his 2 pair is going to beat our 2 pair. We end up racking up our chips after this, heading to the cage and cashing out. I have a pass, I'll show you. I can film. If you want to see my media pass, I can show you. Alright guys, that is it for this session. Ended up playing about 7 hours or so in the game for $2,500. Ended up cashing out for $24.45. So just a small little loss there, less than $100. But that is the story of this month. That is the story of July. It's been pretty rough. As I said in the beginning, I'm down $4,000 this month with it, which is basically nothing for a 5-10 game. It's not even 2 buy-ins, so it's literally like $400 at 1-2. But it is pretty frustrating to work all month and still be down money. And unfortunately, this could be the first losing month I've had since December of 2018 playing poker. So July 2021 might be the first losing month I've had in like 2.5 years. But I'm okay with that because I still feel like I'm playing good poker. I don't think I'm punting money or tilting. I'm trying to play good solid poker. I'm just kind of running bad. As you guys have seen in these last vlogs, just can't get into many good spots. Getting aces cracked, kings cracked all the time, and it happens, you know? Luckily, the positive note behind this is that this downswing is happening whenever I feel like I'm more mature as a poker player. If this would have happened 2 years ago, I don't know if I could have taken it. I might have just kind of tilted off my money or just decided to quit. So luckily this is happening now when I have a bigger bankroll to withstand the swings, and then also a better mental side of poker. I know I'm gonna lose sometimes. I know I'm gonna run bad. It's all about putting in the hours, trying to play well, and hopefully we can get out of this. And it goes to you guys too. If you're on a downswing, if you're running bad, just try to play good poker, try to get the hours in, and hopefully it will turn around. So the next 6 weeks, I'm gonna be here in South Florida. I'm gonna be grinding a lot. I'm gonna be trying to come out with 2 videos a week for you guys. But after 6 weeks, mid-September, things are gonna change a little bit. My lease is up here in Florida, so I'm gonna go to the series in Vegas for a little bit of time. Then I'm gonna come back to Florida, get my car, pack up my things, get my dog, and drive to Texas. And I don't know how long I'll be in Texas. I might be there a month, maybe 2 months, maybe a year, maybe 10 years. I don't know yet. So I'm excited for that. Gonna be grinding a lot here, and then I'm gonna be traveling. And hope you guys like this vlog. Hope you like my channel. If you do, hit that like and subscribe button, comment down below. And until next time, I'll see you.